This episode,
we're running out of fab facts.
Podstrons deliver 5-word reviews.
The Randomiser rises from the deep.
And Jamie chats Space 1999 with Samira Ahmed and Kevin Fong.
That's all coming up in Pod 66
of the Gerry Anderson Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
It's the Gerry Anderson Podcast.
Yeah, that's it, Richard. It's Pod 66.
Yes, it is.
And we're your hosts.
We are.
Who are you?
Richard James. Who are you?
Jamie Anderson.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
What a relief.
We're here for the next hour and a half or so with the Gerry Anderson Podcast. This is your weekly place to come and talk and think and consume and purchase and listen to all things Gerry Anderson.
They don't have to purchase. No purchase required.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, we've got all the usual stuff, of course, coming up. A little later on, everyone's favourite, and they keep telling us in all the reviews that they're leaving, Chris Dale's amazing Randomiser, whereby he sits down in front of a random Gerry Anderson episode and gives us his thoughts and comments. We've got listeners' emails, otherwise known as the Voice of the Podstrons. We'll be checking in on the Facebook page to see what's going on there. I've got my favourite tweets of the week, and we've also got, Jamie, a special interview, haven't we?
Yes, hopefully. I haven't recorded it yet. So I'm sitting down on Friday morning at Hackenbacker Audio in London's West End.
Great.
With Samira Ahmed and Kevin Fong to chat about Space 1999. And who knows what the results are going to be like. I mean, hopefully you're going to hear them later, and I will have heard them by the end of the recording.
Yes.
So, yes, I mean, they're both Space 1999 fans. They're both space fans with an interest in science and stuff, both broadcasters. Obviously, Samira has recently recorded her episode of Mastermind, where she has a specialist subject to Space 1999.
That's right.
So it should be really fun. And I can guarantee one thing, Richard.
What's that, Jamie?
That I will be the least knowledgeable about Space 1999 in that room.
And it's funny, isn't it? Do people often expect you to be the font of all Gerry Anderson knowledge?
They absolutely
Of course they do.
But I never claimed to be.
No, that's right.
Although, do you know, I saw there was someone commented or something or reviewed something and said, the problem with Jamie Anderson is he always has to be right about everything.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And he always wants the last word. Have you noticed?
Yes, Richard, you're right. I absolutely do. No, but I am absolutely not encyclopedic in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
And in fact, we're quite regularly corrected by our lovely Podstrons.
Yes.
And we actually like to get your corrections and minor admonishments.
Yeah,
so please keep sending those in.
Absolutely, particularly when they agree with one of us. For example, I remember Gary Hodgkinson posting on the Facebook group. We had a discussion about the launch of Concorde and playing the Barry Gray Thunderbirds theme in 1967, you said. And I said, I think it might be 1969. Well, Gary got straight on the case and let us know it was indeed 1969.
For Concorde number 2, right? But number 1 was the prototype that was rolled out in France. And actually, to be honest, I don't know which one it was played at. Whether it was the rollout or the first launch.
So we're both right.
We're both right, Richard,
there.
Which is the reason that this partnership has lasted so long. Anyway.
Yes, I think you're right.
There's loads of good stuff, including us agreeing with each other and being nice to each other and getting things wrong for you to correct. If you've got something you'd like to ask us, you have a comment or a question or whatever, email us, podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk, or tweet us. How do people tweet us, Richard? What hashtag should they use and stuff?
It's all very easy, really. You should just head on over to Twitter and hashtag us, Gerry Anderson Podcast, and let us know your thoughts. You can also tag I'm Jamie Anderson or me, Richard N. James, and we'll see your tweets there. And who knows, you might make my top tweets of the week next time. Also, of course, I have to say, don't forget to subscribe to us on whichever platform you're listening to us on. And many of you are now doing that, which is great. But we also know, because we know the numbers of listeners, that many, many more of you still haven't yet subscribed. What are the benefits of subscribing? Well, you get a little notification every time a new podcast appears. So that makes sure that you don't miss a single one. And while you're there, you can rate us and you can review us and you can share us with your friends so they get to listen to us too. Simple. Aren't I?
Nice. No, Richard, you are a consummate professional. Anyway, Richard, did we mention one of listeners' favourite items? Fab facts?
Yes, of course. The Gerry Anderson News will be coming up. That's right. A little later on.
Facts, Richard. Fab facts. I don't think you mentioned that, did you?
How's it going with Fab Facts, Jamie?
Well, we're running a little bit dry. We're down to the fumes a little bit, so we may have to be a little bit more creative. But I'm hoping we can wring at least one more Fab Fact out of the book. So shall we try that ringing right now?
Let's try and ring in it. No, that's not right. Let's try and ring it in, I was going to say.
Or ring it out.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's do that then.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Oh, he does that so well, doesn't he?
I know.
Yeah.
And he comes into a new one every single week. Bless Mark.
I know.
For doing that.
Thanks for coming, Mark. Cheers.
Yeah, bye,
See
Mark.
you next week.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye. So, listeners, for those of you who don't yet know, because this may be your first time visiting us here at the Gerry Anderson Podcast, I've got a book of Fab Facts. Mm-hmm. It's called Fab Facts.
That's it.
Within it, there are some Fab Facts. And we flick through the book of Fab Facts. Richard shouts Fab at a random point, and then we stop on those pages, and I find a Fab Fact that's hopefully Fab and probably a fact.
Yeah. Oh, that's
about
right.
the size of it?
Yeah, it's about the size of it.
Yeah. Now, listeners, I can see Richard right now. He's got his head in his hands at the very thought of this. So that tells you how well this segment's going to go. Richard, are you ready with your Fab?
Born ready, Jamie.
Then here we go.
Fab.
We are on the spread of page 86 and 87.
Right.
Now, based on the fact that the weekend just gone was Breakaway Day weekend, as in the weekend following the 13th of September 2019, the 20th anniversary of the fictional departure of the moon from Earth's orbit, I can see 2 Space 1999 facts on page 86. So should we have both of them?
Go on then, let's have it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm slightly worried because they're not that fab.
Oh.
But I think they're facts.
Okay.
So here's number 1. Space 1999 was also featured in comic strip form in Look In.
Right.
The Junior TV Times.
Yes. I remember looking, certainly.
With some of those panels drawn by Mike Noble, I think.
That's right.
Some of his really lovely art there.
Yes, because Look In was the ITV comic, wasn't it? It was Basil Brush and things like that as well, I remember. But I think they were all ITV programmes, weren't they?
I guess so. I mean, actually, I don't know, Richard.
No, I don't know, because I think Basil Brush is BBC. Well...
Podsterons will correct us. Do let us know. Podcast Gerry.
We've embarrassed ourselves already.
And fact number 2. 2 of the many titles considered for Space 1999 were UFO 1999 and Space Journey 1999.
Space Journey. Ooh,
doesn't have quite the ring, does it?
No.
Space Journey 1999 is too many syllables.
And it sounds a little bit like a Google Translate has literally just got hold of Star Trek and given you Space Journey. Yeah, not very imaginative.
Yeah, or Space Odyssey.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, Kubrick would have definitely sued if they'd gone down that route,
right.
I think.
Yes. Oh.
So,
great,
I mean, the UFO 1999 thing makes sense, obviously, because it was going to be the second series of UFO set later on, based around that moon base and a more advanced moon base and stuff, as Chris Dale discusses on the UFO 2 1999 article on the Gerry Anderson website, if you'd like more information there.
Interesting stuff.
So, yes, I'm sure, I mean, other series must have had, different names along the way before they settled on what they finally did. I mean, I suppose Terrorhawks, even, because that was from the genesis of Thunderhawks, which is a kind of derivation of Thunderbirds.
Yeah, and we started filming Space Precinct under the title Space Police, of course.
Of course, but then the Lego issue came out.
That's right. That's right. We had a range of Space Police Lego toys. That's right. Space Precinct always felt a bit odd, didn't it? That word precinct we don't really associate, particularly in the UK, with the police. It's more of a shopping mall kind of thing, isn't it, here?
Yeah.
So Space Precinct sounds like it's Blue Water or something in space, which, wouldn't really work.
Space Mall.
Yeah, exactly.
Space Shopping Centre. Yeah, 1999.
Yeah, and actually on the subject of names as well, so following last week's Fab Fact where we discussed, I think it was Fred Freeberger, wasn't it, being impressed with the word Luton on a road sign on the M1. So impressed that he put it in a title for a Space 1999 episode, The Rules of Luton. Well, Dee Dee got in touch with me actually and said, hi Richard, thank you for a great personalised podcast this week. I've never heard my surname mentioned so many times before, and that's from Dee Dee Luton.
Amazing.
Yeah, isn't that nice? So, we like to do our bit, don't we?
We try.
We aim to please.
Often by mistake. Mostly by mistake. Anyway, so I think this is fairly indicative now, Richard, that we are running very low on Fab Facts.
Oh no, what are we going to do?
Well, don't worry, we'll find more,
yes.
But I have a feeling we may have to stop flicking through the book.
Yeah, okay.
Which is It's a bit of a worry, but just because we keep landing on pages we've already had,
Sure.
and some of the facts and stuff are not very exciting.
Yep.
So, listeners, expect potential minor format change in the coming weeks for Fab Facts. Maybe we'll jazz it up a bit.
Exciting.
I don't know how I'm going to do that, but we
You'll have to
will.
put those special tassels on again, won't you?
No, that was just for that special one.
Sorry.
Anyway, I think that brings us rather uncomfortably to the end of this week's Fab Fact.
Oh, how nice. I think it's been a while, though, since we've actually said Fab Fact, isn't it?
Yeah, we
So
normally
that's-
say other stupid stuff.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Well, we'll see how that transforms over the coming weeks. But yes, you are listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Welcome, everybody. We know we're getting lots of lovely new listeners who at least are joining us once. And maybe joining us for the whole podcast. We don't know. Well, we do know because you keep coming back, which is lovely. And you keep sending us emails to podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk, and we will be reading out some of them a little later on.
I'm looking forward to those very much, Richard.
Now, it's time for your quick fire 5, Jamie. Okay, are you ready for these?
No. Yes.
Right. Niche Terrorhawk's craft. Steve Begg's Treehawk or Chris Thompson's Tomahawk?
Oh, sorry. Steve will forgive me, but I love Tomahawk. Can't even say its name. I love it so much.
Crispin Merrill themes, New Captain Scarlet or Space Precinct?
Space Precinct, 100%.
Actor Paul Maxwell's Gerry Anderson characters, Steve Zodiac in Fireball XL5 or Lieutenant Jim Lewis in the UFO episode Sub Smash?
Steve Zodiac,
Of course,
surely.
it's got to be. Secret Bases, Thunderbird's Tracy Island or Firestorm Minisode's Black Orchid Base?
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll go for the goodies, Tracy Island.
Fair enough. And finally, Thunderbird's marine craft, Lady Penelope's yacht, Fab 2 or Thunderbird 4?
Oh, Thunderbird 4 is the greatest.
really?
Lovely yellow. Yeah,
Ah.
sorry, Lady P.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Well done. Oh, interesting. I quite like the sound of Lady Penelope's yacht, but when you see it, it's not that fab, is it? That's the thing. It's a bit of a letdown.
It's not one of those kind of super yachts.
No, that's right. Yeah.
So,
Huh,
no.
well, there you go.
Sorry, Lady P.
Well,
but thanks, Richard.
And I look forward to your Quick Fire 5 in return a little later on, Jamie.
Yes, I am looking forward
Yeah.
to presenting them to you
Great.
later on.
Okay, fantastic. Great. There we are. So is it time now to move on to a bit of Gerry Anderson news?
Nothing would please me more.
Glad to be of service.
Well, Richard,
Yes.
prompted by you,
Yeah.
here's some Gerry Anderson newsy news
Oh, lovely.
for you.
Great.
Well, we've already mentioned it was just been Breakaway weekend,
Yeah.
and by the time you're hearing this, it's too late to have enjoyed a lot of it, but I thought I'd tell you about some of it anyway. So here's some stuff about the Breakaway weekend just gone. Did you watch the Shout Factory live stream of every single Space 1999 episode back to back?
Right.
Did you?
Right.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. Did you?
Hopefully it went off without a hitch and there weren't any technical problems like there were in the Thunderbird stream.
Yes.
Fingers crossed. That was one of the many things that happened. Obviously the release of Big Finish's Breakaway Space 1999 audio drama.
Yes.
Lots of you will have your special editions by now. And most of you will have had your downloads by now.
Yes.
Did you enjoy it? Let us know. We've got some 5-word reviews of the teaser that we played out last
Yeah.
week coming up later.
Yeah.
There was also a fantastic documentary of that release over the weekend about the making of, behind the scenes, talking to the cast, a bit talking to Nick Briggs, a bit talking to me, I'm afraid.
Oh, dear.
So that's on our YouTube channel. There were some new releases, a fantastic Eagle schematic t-shirt and an Eagle and Hawk t-shirt designed by, obviously, Chris Thompson.
Cool.
They're marvellous. And there was also a very limited edition Breakaway 2019 t-shirt with a lovely moon, with a big explosion on it.
Yeah.
But, that is no longer available. That went off sale last night.
Crikey.
So I'm afraid by the time you've heard it, I hope you got it and you didn't miss out.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry if you did.
Yeah.
And there's other stuff too. Lots of kind of Space 1999-y things were going on across the weekend. Go back and have a look at them all on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't ordered Breakaway already, then
Yeah.
why not?
What are you thinking?
Go grab it, quick.
I mean, surely your interest has been piqued.
May have been.
I would think so. I just want to know what all the fuss was about, if nothing else.
Well, yes, it's well worth a listen. It's
Yeah,
great, and there's
yeah.
more to come. And yes, we're busy working on bits and pieces in the background, ready for the next few stories next year.
Yeah, now I've got a little question about that, Jamie, if I may be so bold. Well, you're heading into further episodes of Space 1999 next year. Might you incorporate some things from Season 2 into that, or is it all a bit of a melting pot? Characters, for example, is Maya ever likely to appear, or someone like her?
I don't know. It's too early to tell. Well, I think we're very much in Season 1 territory at this point, but I don't see why we wouldn't be able to go into Season 2 territory at some point.
Yeah.
But I don't think there'll be a sudden tonal shift.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you've just reminded me that also this weekend just gone, there was a convention. A Breakaway convention in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Great.
So we hope that went really well and everyone enjoyed it. If you were there, let us know. Send us some stuff.
Yeah, please. Bit of cake.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And also, if you were there and got some pictures, send us your images to fablive at gerryanderson.co.uk and we'll try and show them off on the next Fab Live.
Which is tonight.
Which is tonight, if you're listening
Monday
to this
night.
on the day of release, the 16th of September,
That's right.
2019.
Yes.
Anyway, that's enough Space 1999 stuff because that's all gone now.
Yeah, that's right.
But also on Breakaway Day, strangely, although not that strangely, the UFO soundtrack was released on CD and vinyl.
Ooh.
If you pre-ordered them, they'll be winging their way to you and they might already be in your hands right now. The vinyl's pretty much sold out. There might be a few units left, so go and grab that if you're a person who likes vinyl. What are you hoping for next? I think there's an announcement coming very soon. I know what the next title to be released is.
Do you?
I don't think I'm allowed to say yet, though.
Okay, fair enough. Why don't you mime it to me so at least I can see? Oh.
Yeah,
wow.
see? And I did it a very slightly insulting way.
Yeah, great.
So there we go. That's that. If you've been hanging around on the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel, which I know that Richard has been,
yes,
you will have been enjoying Chris Dale's Primers series.
Yep, brilliant.
What's your favourite primer so far, Richard?
Well, I watched the Fireball XL5 one today. I really enjoyed that because against the series I don't know, and it's really handy.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed the Fireball XL5 one, actually. So that was jolly. We've got loads more to come. I think Chris is currently doing possibly a Space Precinct one, which may already possibly be out by the time this podcast is live.
Great.
There's the Protectors coming up soon.
Yeah.
Loads more. Obviously, he's going to get through the whole lot eventually, except probably for Twizzle, because there's not very much to talk about with Twizzle.
That's right.
But maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I saw a video where he also spent about 10 minutes talking about the poster designs for not Journey to the Centre of the Earth, the Journey to the Far Side of the Sun, or Doppelganger.
Yeah, that's true.
So
he can string these things out.
He can.
Bless you, Chris.
Yeah.
If you have not yet entered the big Gerry Anderson giveaway, then what are you doing?
Are you mad?
What are you doing? There's over £1,000 worth of Gerry Anderson stuff to be won. The complete Gerry Anderson collection on DVD, Blu-ray, audio, comic, and book. So, I mean, you really should go and enter that. It's very easy. Go and put your email address in, and then take bonus actions to win entries to increase your chances.
Oh, like what?
Well, like subscribe to this podcast, leave us a review, subscribe to the YouTube channel, watch a certain video and comment and thumbs up it, that kind of thing.
Great.
Join the email newsletter. The more you do, the more points you get, and the higher your chance of winning. So you only get 1 point for entering, but you can get hundreds and thousands of points for doing other stuff, and each one counts as a new entry. So increase your chances by doing that.
Lovely.
And finally, Richard.
Oh, yes?
You know our friend Kevin Grazier, who was on the podcast but a few episodes ago.
Know him? Not half.
Yeah, he's a planetary physicist and movie and TV science advisor.
And rodentaphile.
And a rodentaphile. He's also a massive fan of Space 1999, and he's done us a rather lovely article all about his favourite things, the things that fascinate him about Space 1999, including fractals.
Oh, I love fractals.
But I'll just leave that hanging.
Couldn't eat a whole one, mind you, but...
and they're smaller.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were bigger when we were kids.
Yeah, that's right.
So.
Getting small all the time.
Anyway, yes, you can go and enjoy Kevin's fantastic article on the Gerry Anderson website, along with Chris's latest stuff about Space 1999 and more, and AC's rather lovely A21 articles, which are kind of TV21 style front page headline and short stories from the Century 21 universe, which are always quite fun.
Yes. Great.
Pop along there. And obviously, as Richard's already said, it's Fab Live tonight. Richard, do you want to tell them about Fab Live?
Well, Fab Live is our almost monthly broadcast on Facebook and Periscope and YouTube and Twitch, I believe. It's just like the podcast, really, except you can see us and you can interact with us, because obviously you can leave your comments and we can answer all your questions and queries and so on and have a bit of fun with you. We play some games, Fab or Fib and Blankety Blank and so on. And we also love to hear from you and show the general public your pictures of your cosplay and your toys and your merch and your memories and so on. So if you have anything you'd like to send us that we can read tonight, that's Monday the 16th of September at 7 p.m, do send them in to fablive@gerryanderson.co.uk and we'll do our best to read them out, and hopefully we'll see you there.
Hopefully we will,
Yeah,
yes.
hope
You've
we
just
will.
reminded me that once again, I have not listed the fact this is happening anywhere, so I'm going to put that on my to-do list right
It does sort of
now.
creep up on us, doesn't it?
Because, well, last time, I think we announced it about 4 hours before.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm going to do it tonight. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Anyway, that, rather embarrassingly, because I haven't done the scheduling, brings us to the end of the Gerry Anderson News. I've never heard you trumpet before, Richard.
Well, not in polite company, certainly. Now, look, if you're on Facebook, you must head on over to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/groups/podsterons, where you can see discussions, quizzes. They're holding weekly watch parties every Friday night. And also people have been posting their thoughts and comments. For example, Paul Main says a few years ago, the Bank of England asked members of the public to submit nominations for who they would like to see on the reverse of the new £20 note. There was only ever one choice for me, and I tried to get as many people as possible to vote for Gerry Anderson. Unfortunately, he wasn't chosen, but to help the campaign and give folks a flavour of what the note might look like, I've mocked up this image. Just think, we could have had a Gerry in our wallet on payday, and there he's included a lovely picture of a mocked up £20 note with Gerry Anderson on the front. Actually, that's the sort of campaign that now, because that was a few years ago, we might get a bit more traction behind, mightn't we, with the podcast and YouTube channel and website and various bits and pieces.
That is true.
But yeah,
We could have
thanks,
done.
Paul, anyway. Rob Doyle said the new Captain Scarlet episode, Touch of the Reaper, is fantastic. I so want a live-action version of this series. They could keep the stories, just expand them a bit. Things take a very grim turn. I love the Air Force One scenes and the almost Evil Dead cabin in the woods. If you haven't seen New Captain Scarlet, this is a great episode to start with. Interesting idea, though, of making a live-action version of New Captain Scarlet, which is obviously spin-off from old Captain Scarlet, Supermarination. Makes you wonder where it could end.
What, you then do a stop-motion spin-off of the live-action one,
That's right.
and you do an augmented reality spin-off of the stop-motion one.
Yeah.
And
By which time it's new Captain Scarlet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Keith Wickenden said, I got a text from my son today. My grandson is 4 years old and was watching Thunderbirds Are Go on Film 4 today. He hasn't taken his eyes off it for 20 minutes. This made me very happy and proves again the timeless wonder of these shows. And finally, Ian Kuma posted on our Facebook page, so this may sound like a weird question, but where and how does everyone else listen to the podcast? I don't have a commute, often don't get time to just sit and listen to it, and if I try and listen while doing something else, I generally get too focused on what I'm doing and miss bits. To which our dear AC replied, I usually listen while prepping the weekly newsletter for all the lovely fans. So that's what he's doing right now. Isn't that nice?
Bless
There you
him.
go. Yeah, so do get
Thanks,
involved. Just head
AC.
on over to facebook.com/groups/podsterons. We know lots of you aren't on Facebook, and of course that's groovy too. But if you are, head on over and join in the fun.
I never thought we'd hear the word groovy on
Well,
the Gerry Anderson podcast.
I'm a man of a certain age, you see. That's the trouble.
The 60s.
Yeah, the 60s, exactly. Oh, fantastic. I've been looking forward to this. Right,
Oh,
my
good,
very
Richard.
Quick fire five from Jamie.
Yeah, so the first one,
Yeah.
retro sci-fi years, UFOs 1980 or Space 1999's 1999.
UFOs 1980.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second up, female characters that have a similar sounding month type name.
Right.
Mae East from Dick Spanner or Space 1999's Maya?
Okay. Maya.
Okay, great.
Oh, well, you've got three more, I suppose.
Favourite Gerry Anderson Dick? Dick Spanner or Terrorhawk's audio series Dick Branston?
Okay, Dick Spanner. Next.
Great, well done, Richard. That's the end of your Quickfire 3 this week.
What? Jamie? Quickfire 3?
Well, I thought it might be a bit snappier to do just 3.
Did you really think that, or had you forgotten?
I just ran out of time for it today,
Right.
and
And you
so I mean,
hastily-
here's the card. I
Yeah.
did have it numbered down to 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but only 3 of them are filled in.
Yeah. So, and I kind of ran out of ideas there.
Disappointing.
Anyway, thanks and well done for answering those 3 either or questions,
Okay.
Richard.
All
I'm
right.
sure I'll be back with more next week. Well, what do you want next week? Quickfire 10 or something, do you?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's make
Quickfire 500.
the whole podcast, Quickfire podcast. We could do that.
Oh dear, I just ran out of time. And this is one of those weeks. When did you get the script? Like 3 minutes before
Yes,
recording?
yes.
And it's rubbish.
Yeah,
So
well, Your comments, not mine.
Everyone's used to it by now. Anyway, listeners, thanks for your support in these difficult times.
That's right. You're seeing
And
us
sorry
through.
for being lazy. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway, Richard, we got some stuff we've heard from our listeners. Do you think is it worth hearing from them?
Yeah, actually, I just put it on the shelf there, just behind that curtain. If you draw that curtain back, you'll see the box of oh.
This is the voice of the Podsterons.
Right.
Oh, it's let a bit of a chill into the room, isn't it?
I walked straight into that one.
You did.
Yes, it is clearly the voice of the Podsterons, our lovely listeners, who have been emailing in various things. And Richard, I've given you a selection of stuff all about last week's Space 1999 Breakaway audio drama 15-minute teaser preview.
Yes, that's true. You asked for 5-word reviews, and we have indeed had some from Carl Scott, for example. He said, "Dear team, my 5-word review of New Space 1999 is as follows: Space 1999 TV series. Who?"
I saw a similar one on Twitter, actually, where somebody had said, "What Space 1999 TV series?" So there we go.
5-word review also from Gary Hodgkinson. "Had me with the theme," he said. Yeah, lots of love out there for Benji's interpretation of the fantastic Space 1999 theme. Benji
It's a great job.
And I believe we have an audio message from our old chum, Big Al.
We do. I'll press play now.
Hello, Gerry Anderson Podcast. It's Big Al once again. Just been listening to the 15-minute preview of the new Space 1999. Here's a 5-word review for you. Core blimey, that was good. I wonder if the new audio series will visit planet Luton. Who knows? I'm sure if they do that episode, the CDs will fly like radioactive rods. Good stuff, guys. Keep them coming. Ta-da!
Thank you, Big Al.
Yeah.
There we go.
Lovely.
So much positivity in the world about this new audio series. And, you know, it's a great way to renew interest.
Yes.
Get people revisiting the series, praising it from a new angle.
Mm-hmm. Tell new stories. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great. Meet new characters.
we're telling the same story to start with, but we have
sure.
to some degree, to get the moon out of Earth's orbit.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, that's right.
there you go.
Yeah.
If you've listened to it, I would love to know from you listeners, what do you think of the slight changes we've made to the Breakaway itself?
Uh-huh.
I'd love to know more. I hope that's kind of spoiler free, but
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
love to know what you think. Podcast at gerryanderson.co.uk, which is exactly where Clive Lewis sent the following email.
Oh, yeah?
That email is this. Good evening, Jamie and Richard. How does he know we're recording in the evening?
Well, he's right. He's spot on.
Yeah, nice work, Clive. I just wanted to know if you have any further information on the Lego Thunderbird 2 set that we all diligently voted for on the Lego Ideas website.
Oh, yes.
Also, how about a regular section called Ask David Graham, where he and don't laugh.
No, sorry.
Where he and any of his voice characters answered questions sent in by us Podsterons.
Great.
I hope you're well, and thanks to the fantastic podcast, FABSIG and TTFN, crossing slightly out of the Gerry Anderson universe
Just a
there.
bit.
That's from Clive.
Yeah.
Clive, thank you for that. Now, Lego Ideas. Yes, lots of you voted, thousands of you voted for the Thunderbird 2 set from the Lego Ideas website. It's in review. Now, we don't know anything about what review means. I am in vague contact with some guys at Lego, but they're all in different departments. They're not in the ideas department, and it's all very separate.
Yeah.
We've not heard anything, but the minute we do, we will let you know via the podcast and all other Gerry Anderson transmission methods.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, it takes a while. They've basically got to work out how the numbers are going to work. They've got to cost out the set. They've got to work out if they can improve the build. They've got to get the license from ITV.
Yeah.
I mean, and that kind of a negotiation between big companies can take months, if not years.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not saying it will, but, you know, don't be sat on the edge of your seat waiting to pre-order the Thunderbird 2 set from Lego. I hope it will happen.
Yeah.
And I'm reasonably confident that it will.
Yeah.
But right now we don't know anymore. So that's that.
Fair enough.
And your suggestion, which amused Richard so much.
Yes, I like that
Ask
idea.
David Graham.
Ask
Now,
David Graham.
I would love to do that. There
Yeah.
are quite a few logistical issues
Yeah.
around that.
Yeah.
I mean, David doesn't have his own recording studio. Some voice artists have their own recording studio and set up at home. David doesn't. so you'd have to travel somewhere to do it. Collating questions, collating enough and recording enough in one session is going to be quite difficult.
Yeah.
Also, if we're doing it in character, really David is going to expect those answers to be scripted, so that means we have to write the answers, which kind of then takes some of the magic out of it.
We can always just record him saying yes and no.
That is a great idea.
And then they could be yes
A
no questions.
or B, and then we could do a quick fire 5 with him. Next time I see David Graham, I'll get him to record yes, no, A, B.
Great.
And then we'll see what we can do, Clive. So thank you very much for the suggestion and for the kind words. And that's the last one I have for this week, Richard, unless you've got anything else.
No, I haven't. No, fair enough. That's great. So if you want to get in touch with us, do drop us a line at podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk, because we'd love to answer your questions or give voice to your comments and theories and reviews and whatever you want to post to us. And also, of course, don't forget to subscribe to us on whichever platform you're listening to us on. Leave us a lovely review if you feel so minded. Rate us and share us with your friends so they can hear us too. Don't forget you can hashtag us on Twitter, Gerry Anderson Podcast, and tag him, I'm Jamie Anderson, or me, Richard N. James. I think that just about covers all bases.
Probably does, yeah. I think you're right.
So, tell me about Samira Ahmed and Kevin Fong.
Well, I'm rather limited as to what I can tell you about them because we haven't done our recording at the time of recording this podcast.
But Samira we will know, of course, from various news programmes. In fact, I saw a tweet from her today saying that she'll be chairing, I think, the Today programme on Radio 4 in a couple of weeks in October.
Sitting in for John Humphreys,
I believe
right?
so.
When he's off doing stuff. Kevin Fong is a broadcaster, as we've said, I think previously, best known most recently for his podcast 30 Minutes to the Moon about the Apollo missions.
Yeah.
The minute I said to Samira when I first spoke to her for the TV Years Space 1999 article she did, I said, we should do a podcast. Do you want to come on the podcast? She said, yes. And do you know you should bring on Kevin Fong? That would be amazing. He loves this show. He'd be brilliant.
Great.
So I think there's going to be a bit of a 1999 off between Kevin and Samira, but let's see. They might be very well behaved. And I just love the fact that we're recording this at Hackenbacker.
Yeah.
Obviously, alias of Brains, or Brains being an alias of Hackenbacker or whatever. So, that's all very exciting. So, should we just hear the first half of this chat? I've got no idea how it went down.
Yeah.
So, let's hope that it went okay. I'm Jamie Anderson. I'm here on Breakaway Day, September the 13th, 2019, 20 years after the moon left Earth's orbit. And I'm joined by...
I'm Kevin Fong. I'm a doctor of medicine, but I'm a Space 99 super fan, I think.
But also, you've worked at NASA on space medicine. I mean, you are.
Well, that is true. That's true. I have worked with NASA looking at the medical effects of space on the human body, and all of that is probably because I watched this series when I was growing up.
He's the closest thing on Earth we have to Dr. Helena Russell.
Are you happy with that accolade?
I always wanted to be Alan Carter.
Be gender fluid. I'm Samira Ahmed, and I'm a journalist. I grew up loving Space 1999, and I've just done a mastermind with it as my specialist subject, which will be aired around Christmas. So no spoilers in this episode.
But we do know that you dressed up especially for it.
Yes, so thanks to Jamie. James Winch posted me a couple of costumes to wear. So I didn't actually wear this one. This is for you, really, isn't it, Kevin? It's a sort of Helena Russell one. But I went Sandra Benesh, and I wore this. And it was absolutely lovely. Yeah. And I'd spoken to Yasuko Austin, who'd played Yasko, and she'd said the costumes were really comfortable and they're lovely material. This is a replica. And actually it was. But I would say as a woman with a figure, you have to really plan your undergarments so that you don't, cause embarrassment.
But I mean, for me, rewatching the series, it's amazing how much that whole fashion thing drove. Well, I was saying it drove everything I wore as a kid growing up, tracksuits and polo necks, but then I put this on today and I thought, it still continues to drive what I wear today. That no-nonsense sort of one-zip thing.
The unisex look of that first series is terrific. If you think anyone who watched early Star Trek Next Generation, where they had men in skirts because they imagine, a kind of genuine equal future, and then they dropped the skirts because, of course, executives couldn't cope with that. But the unisex trouser tunic thing was great. And the weird thing was, of course, it was universally unflattering. So I think I wrote a feature for TV Years about how, I was really conscious of Commander Koenig's executive VPL.
I never thought the belts were very flattering.
No, and in fact,
no, they were definitely in the wrong place.
Russell, who you could tell obviously really was a beautiful. She's an ex-model, wasn't she? The belt, she always looked like it just always made you bulge a bit.
Yeah.
Even when you were that slim and gorgeous.
Well, we had that when we did the photo shoot shoot for the audio series. Anyway, look, we've already gone into things. I'm sure listeners can already tell that you two are massive Space 1999 fans from the fact that you've just gone straight into
I brought my
uniforms
book.
and more.
So this is the original 1976 Tim Heald book, but I only bought it a few years ago and I spotted it at a second-hand bookshop.
And I should also say for listeners that Samira has got her mastermind notes on the desk. So, yes, she's going to be referring to those regularly.
I think it's fair to say I take my revision seriously. So this is my Series 1 notes, and I colour-coded all the directors and the script writers. And this is Series 2.
Yeah.
So you could tell, I think Johnny Byrne is in green, and Charles Crichton is in yellow.
So I'm having flashbacks now to turning up to my A-levels and someone going, look all this revision I've just done. I'm like, I'm just here.
Yeah, you boys just blag it, don't you?
Samira's come with her geek credentials on paper, literally. We should just say, Samira, how this has happened, basically. Yes. Why are you here and how do we rope Kevin in?
Oh, God, that's the question. Well, one, it is the anniversary. Kevin and I, for a couple of years, I didn't know how we got talking about it, but it turned out we were both Space 1999 fans. And we've always wanted to do something together about it. And I had this idea that we are the two cultures. He's a real scientist and I'm a cultural journalist who never did physics O-level, let alone A-level. And I just think we approach it from different ways. And then, I don't know how else. I mean, I got talking to you because I interviewed you for my TV Years feature. About Space 1999, which is really good. And you told me these amazing stories about, the inspiration for the character of Alan Carter, which Nick Tate didn't know. So, yeah, I just felt.
And what it's interesting, isn't it? Because Space 1999 is one of those programs that you don't tend to sit around in a pub and chat about with your other mate, in the same way that you might other sci-fi series from the time, like bizarrely, like Star Trek and some of the other Doctor Who. And actually, that was part of it. It was, starting to talk to Samira about it, thinking, oh, here's someone who really gets it like I get it.
Well, it's funny how often it's come up as an influence. And I interviewed Paul Franklin, who won 2 Oscars for Inception and Interstellar doing the visual effects. And he loved the show and it was really influential on him. He'd first come across, the idea of Space 1999 when it was featured on Horizon documentary. So it was always regarded as something which was pushing the envelope of what was possible in terms of visual effects and science. And I got to interview Brian Johnson as well when I was doing my piece. And I just think there's something about the power of those analog models combined with the vision of that show, which is both bleak and beautiful.
And the lovely thing about rewatching it recently is that the miniature work really stands up, doesn't it? I mean, they're so beautiful, those models. And in fact, I watched some of the online videos of the making of. I'd never realised how big some of those models were.
Oh, they were huge.
Yeah, they were huge, but it's why it works, because there's that attention to detail at scale. And that, for me, was the most exciting thing. And actually, the scientist in me looks at it now and thinks, it's quite clever, because actually the structure of it is it's obviously borrowed an awful lot from Apollo itself. Those engines that make are unmistakably 4 F1 engines, straight off the Saturn V. And then the little thrusters on the side, the RCS thrusters, the reaction control system, are definitely, I've seen that on Apollo, I'm going to stick it on an Eagle. And so you look at it and you think, do you know what? That might fly on the moon.
Yeah.
Can I just mention the other visual effects, which probably meant more to me, even though I know the Eagle is amazing, which was the way the planets were visualised, the swirling clouds. And when my school got one of the first BBC Micros, I remember writing programmes, and all I wanted to do on that and on my ZX Spectrum when I got that too was just create a screen so I could be Sandra Benesch with a black and white monitor or a colour monitor if I was lucky and just animate little planets on them, because I just loved how those planets looked. And if you think about the Hubble telescope images, one of which we bought a photograph of one, a print of one, Space 1999 anticipated what the Hubble telescope would actually capture, those swirling cloud-filled visions of Jupiter and Saturn.
Surprisingly accurate in some ways.
That's Nick Alder, isn't it?
Yeah.
Responsible for that.
And less in others. Let's not touch on the science of blowing the moon out of Earth's orbit. But you've already mentioned the fashion, the characters, the hero aspects, the special effects and the miniatures. So these have obviously had a kind of prolonged effect on both of you from childhood. Can you just rewind and take me back to your first Space 1999 viewing experience, or your kind of earliest memories of it?
Well, I can remember the sheer terror of the ending of Earthbound, which is when Commissioner Simmons, spoilers, wakes up in the cryogenic chamber thinking he's arrived at Earth after 75 years and realises, of course, he hasn't, because it was never set for his body, and he's pounding and they can hear him screaming on Moonbase Alpha. And the idea of that on a Saturday morning, I'd be watching the TV on my own and outside, Dad's mowing the lawn or whatever. That moment of existential horror, I think, is seminal to so many children who grew up in the LWT London region.
And I have exactly the same memory of that. And I could feel the, 30 years old panic rising in me as I watched that episode. I know what happens here. Oh my gosh, just as you say, stuck in this Perspex box, with everybody else around you in hibernation. And you think, oh my gosh, that's all. It is the being buried alive thing. It is that awful. So I agree. And it turns out that all of the episodes I enjoyed the most this time around, watching them again, were the ones that had scared me the most when I was growing up. And Earthbound is definitely one of those. So The Exiles was
Series 2, but like a Series 1 episode.
But like a Series 1 episode, and that's and that has Peter Duncan in it, and
Stacey Dawning. Who was the woman who gets thrown out?
Oh, okay. But it's super dark, isn't it? Because, there's this fleet of ships that are sort of these escape capsules, and then they go and rescue them, and you think, oh, that's nice. You've rescued these people, and then those people try and annihilate them.
Well, tell us your story about, because you had a really interesting analogy about why Space 1999 was so great and so dark, and it was, you gave a James Bond comparison.
Well, that's right. Well, it's really that, the Series 1 is this bleak, dark sort of, headlong leap into darkness and the unknown with really no hope. And Koenig is this commander who's like, I still have to lead. I still have to protect my people. I must still do anything at all to try and keep them going. And that means if you're an alien on the end of that, Koenig was always going to say, well, it's my people first, and that doesn't matter what I have to do. And in fact, although it's a Series 2 episode, The Exiles is the greatest illustration of that. Faced with a choice of what to do about how to balance this, it's us or them. It's always us.
But he risks Helena Russell, who's being held hostage.
Well, he does, but he's the ultimate utilitarian, isn't he? He's, the needs of the many, my people, versus the needs of the few. And that's anyone. That's Helena Russell, that's the aliens. And that's the scene at the end of The Exiles where it's like, how am I going to resolve this? I know. I'm just going to chuck this woman out of the airlock, and and not even a second's thought. There's no hesitation. And I when we talked about this before, I said, Series 1, Commander Koenig, Series 1, Space 1999 is like the Sean Connery James Bond version of sci-fi. So famously, Sean Connery, in killing off an enemy, was it in Goldfinger? Yeah. He just sort of walks into the bathroom and chucks a 3-bar heater into the bath and turns around and says, shocking. and that is the whole sensibility of Series 1. And then in Series 2, it becomes much more Roger Moore and Judo Chop and a little bit weird and a little bit fantasy. But, I think you totally get Commander Koenig. You totally get what he's about. He's about, it's us, and it's only us, and there's nobody else, and everybody else needs to get out of our space because this is how I'm going to keep us going.
I'm going to say there's one Series 2 episode which I think is outstanding, and it's the one that I've rewatched the most, because I bought it on VHS when it became available back in the early 90s when I got it, and it's the AB Chrysalis, which is, what I love about it is it really fully imagines a proper alien species. So they breathe chlorine, they land on that moon which is sort of set up their shockwave, so it has everything a good episode should have. The risk of complete destruction of Moonbase Alpha, and we get to see some proper explosions and damage and medical centre trying and struggling to cope. And then they go to an alien planet where they have those bouncing probes, and that voice of Robert Riti, who dubbed all the Italian actors who couldn't speak proper English in the episodes, but also had that, I'm sure he did James Bond dubbing as well. There are a lot of actors who dubbed those kinds of things, and he's the voice of the probe, and they try and work out what planet they're from, and he gives them a pen to draw the sort of solar system. And I just thought it really was a sense of entering an alien world, and just the aesthetics of that set with the bouncing balls and the sound was beautiful. Sarah Douglas, who was one of the baddies in Superman 2, is one of the mysterious women. And for all the banter, the whole thing about Fred Freiberger was he put this kind of flirty banter at the end of Series 2 episodes which people hated. This is one of the few episodes where it works, where Helena Russell says, I hear those women were naked. And he goes, oh, I don't remember. And she says, and green. And he goes, oh, I don't think they were green. It was so lovely.
But I have to say, the banter at the end of the episodes in Series 2 did wind me up. And I think it wound me up at the time because it was that thing that they used to do on the news, their whole famous sort of, I've told you this thing about some international cataclysm, but here's a story about a skateboarding duck.
Do you remember the one where Alan Carter and Tony Verdeschi are looking at porn?
What?
Yes, right. I'm going to tell you which. I was really shocked.
Wait a minute.
No, they are.
Wait, what?
I'm going to learn something
It's the one, the Seance Spectre. So there's a group of crew who've they're holding seances together, and they're convinced that this planet they're approaching is going to be a perfect base. And it's not. It's got some weather belt in space, which means it's not yet habitable. And after the whole mutiny's been stopped, Helena Russell works out that the therapy is they've got green sickness, which is what sailors used to get. They've not seen land. So she makes all the crew sit and watch hours and hours of photographs of green, nature, just to bore them so that they won't miss planet so much. And then in mission control, whatever, it's Alan and Tony kind of grinning and looking at a monitor. It's like totally unsuitable for work, not safe for work. You would get sacked if you did this in an office. And they're looking at glamour shots. And one of them is Caroline Munro. And I can't remember who the other one is, but the Catacombs website tells you. And they're kind of in their sort of sexy glam poses. And it's like, yeah, that's nature. And it was that horrible moment, which Star Trek did too, when the sensibilities of a certain kind of 70s male executive unfortunately really infected was visible on screen. And it was so unlike them.
Well, because across Space 1999, really, and we mentioned this before we came in, there's so much kind of that's forward thinking, especially in terms of diversity. Yes. That hopefully that porn incident didn't ruin the whole thing for you, Samira.
That's what I really thought. That's Fred Freiberger's bad influence. And while there's stuff that was good about Series 2, and I loved the costumes, and I loved Maya, she was a huge role model of mine, I do think, he made it he sexed it up in an inappropriate way. And when I did Mastermind, and John Humphrey saying, basically, what are you doing dressed in this costume? And what was the show? And I said, one of the things that was great about it was really like London in the 70s. So, there was a dark side, which was the National Front, but the positive side, which my parents remember, was all these people, of Jamaican heritage, of Australian heritage and Commonwealth backgrounds who were working in London, living in London, whether in the NHS or in the BBC and just in the neighbourhoods that I knew in London. And it's all reflected. It's a British show.
But we've talked about this before, haven't we? And this is partly how we got talking about this, is that there were so few shows, science fiction or otherwise, in which as ethnic minority, children of immigrants growing up in the 1970s, that you could see yourself or a potential future self of you in.
And they were literally the same age that we would be in 1999, because I was born in 60. I would be 31 in 1999.
And it is very powerful, because for you to be able to project yourself and say, actually, I want to, I know we joke about this now, but at the time growing up, you thought, I want to be like these people. And you could see yourself, and that does matter. Being able to see yourself and have an aspiration for yourself. And certainly, I think we felt the same way about that and about Star Trek in different ways, but that diversity that's always existed. But interestingly, why does it exist? Because in the 1970s, what are the crazy things we can imagine? We can imagine the moon being pushed out of Earth's orbit. We can imagine aliens coming and taking over the base. And we can imagine a diverse culture in a significant command system.
And those accents are really important. I really love that it was British accented. And obviously you had the two American leads. But I thought Alan Carter being an Australian and being a hero was really important. It was like that Commonwealth feel which made it London to me. And also, Maya, although she didn't join to Series 2, is essentially a refugee, and London had always been a city of refugees.
Yeah, and to me now, as someone who works in the National Health Service, Moonbase Alpha is the NHS. it is this sort of, diverse workforce, operational workforce with real risk every day in front of it. And so, I guess...
It was always crisis management, wasn't it?
It was always crisis management. It must have been exhausting. I think they didn't deal with the episode they missed. It's called Burnout.
The norovirus episode.
Yeah. Well, I did always wonder how much mileage you could have got by dialing down the fantasy bit and just going hard on the, actually, because the drama of just dealing with floating in space and our life support is limited and our power is limited and we've got to make sure that we don't have any kids, because they have one episode where they talk about not having children, don't they?
Although
they then have an episode where they do have a child.
And that child is never explained about, again, because the alpha child, their baby is restored. I met Martin Landau, and in the interview I did with him, which was on the BBC iPlayer, it was an episode of The Strand, we talked about his films, but I went to the BFI shortly before that, where he was asked a question about Space 1999, and of course he still lives, he's a method actor, he was a method actor, he completely lives that part still. And he just started to explain really earnestly, well, I had to make sure that we could survive. I had to. And, we had this really limited hydroponic system to grow food, and we had to recycle everything, including water, and we couldn't allow anyone to reproduce. And it was so lovely. He was, 85 years old, and he was still so sincere about, the dilemma and the moral weight of being Commander Koenig.
Yeah, that always came across in the intensity of that performance. Even when other people were trying to have a bit of a mess around, he was like, yeah, can you not see what's happening here? We're all dying and we're all in space still. So I've just got to continue to be the commander. And that's all I am, and that's all I ever will be. And you guys can go and have fun and try and be frivolous
He
here,
was
but
more,
this is who I am.
mixing genres. He was more Christopher Pike from the original Star Trek pilot, sort of quite dark, solemn man.
No, but appropriately so. And, as a method actor, if you get yourself even vaguely into the head of someone who's in charge of 331 people, I can't remember.
311.
311 people.
And it went down a lot.
Well, hey, this is what I wanted to ask you about. Is if you start off with 27 eagles, did you ever count through how many eagles you lose through the two series? Because I bet you lose more than 27.
Because you asked me this on Twitter.
I read somewhere that someone said they were supposed to have been 50, and then it got down to 27 or 28, depending on if you count Alan's Eagle in addition to the 27. And there's a particular episode where they do that. But the death toll means you get down to about 245, don't you?
Yeah,
they lose a lot of people.
But it's big. Even as a child, I used to look at the loss of the Eagles and think, how many of those things do they actually have? Because they lose loads of them.
But you told me, Jamie, that the explosion is the essential joy of all Gerry Anderson shows, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I do think so. I must just add, by the way, on the diversity note, and you guys saying that you felt there was representation for you, Dad would have absolutely loved to hear that, because that was his absolute desire.
To be fair as well, that Sylvia Anderson, I think, was very important to that. And I know Nick Tate, who I interviewed, told me that she was the real actors champion and stood up for them. And I think, it was that dual aspect that created that show.
No, it was great.
And it was outrageous to chuck so many great actors out. Nick is still very sore, like Clifton Jones and Prentice Hancock in particular, who were so great.
They were great.
Can we talk about them? Because I shouldn't say who my crushes are, because I did have a big thing for Tony, and that was one of the things I loved about Maya. I thought she's intelligent and she gets the hot Italian boyfriend. This is a great role model for a 7-year-old girl. But I've really come to appreciate Paul, because I think, and was he in Danger UXB? He was in some of those sort of World War II-ish or Colditz sort of 70s dramas, and I think he embodies that kind of World War II sort of David Niven spirit, what with the tash and everything. He's quite understated, he's quite withheld, but then when he reveals a bit of emotion, it's really powerful. And I like that he was in the mix, along with the American method actor and the kind of the broader Australian who doesn't, as Nick Tate said, he doesn't count, Australians don't kowtow to anybody.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And he is the British sensibility in it. I think Series 1 particularly is kind of the, it's the spirit of the Blitz thing. What would sort of World War II London be like if you were on a moon base hurtling through the universe? And it sort of is that sort of stiff upper lip. I know this is all catastrophic, but we've got to keep going. And he is that embodiment, isn't he, Paul, as a character? I noticed, actually, rewatching it, how perpetually grumpy he is. But of course you would be, and I suppose that's again to your point that, the Commander Conan, come on guys, we can keep doing it. Well, actually, you can see where this is all going, guys. I mean, really, we're all going to die.
There's an episode when, is it the one where there's a recital and there's that guitarist, he's quite famous, Jim something, got his name.
Just back to her notes again.
No, I've got it, because he was a really famous session guitarist, he's playing the sitar or something, and it's the one with where that guy gets haunted by his own future ghost. Do you know the one?
I don't.
Well, now I'm going to assume that was a very interesting interview, Jamie.
I am hoping it was. Now, depending on how well it went and how interesting it was, there will be a further part or 2 parts, and we'll confirm that next week.
Yes.
So you can hear more from them then. Now, I did also try to film this interview so that we might be able to do some video bits and pieces on the YouTube channel, but I don't know if that happened because it's in the future right now.
Okay.
Even though it's actually happened in the past by the time you listen to this.
Yes.
So let's see what happened. But thank you so much to Samira and Kevin, and thank you very much too to Nigel at Hackenbacker for arranging for us to do the interview there. It was brilliant and really, really useful to have that space, and him and his team are just lovely. So
great.
There we go. I know, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
And in fact, Nigel's quite a regular Twitter follower, and he is the king of sound design and sound mixing.
Yeah.
And I was quite embarrassed to learn that he is listening to our podcast as a
no.
regular.
Oh, Jamie.
So, Nige, I'm so
can we
sorry
say?
for the quality of the recording. Obviously, you'll notice that the editing has improved now that we have our lovely editor Laura on board. But,
It's just the percentage that let you down.
I know. Well, we keep popping into the mic and coughing and brushing past things and phones going off. So Nigel, I'm so sorry. I'm very embarrassed. But thank you for having us. Anyway, Richard.
Yes.
Nigel also tweets us occasionally. So does that sort of neatly segue us into your top 5 tweets of the week?
Let's have some top 5 tweets of the week.
5.
Firstly, Robert Monk got in touch on Twitter to say, it's a shame it's only the first 15 minutes of the new Space 1999 audio, as I'm in hospital for 2 hours being pumped with my new medication.
Robert, get well soon.
Yeah, hope you're feeling better.
4.
Phil Markham says, Duvet Day with podcasts. Now on to the latest episode of the Gerry Anderson Podcast with Space 1999 audio from Big Finish. Now need to decide on what Anderson TV to watch later. Brackets, more Secret Service, I think. Addictive viewing. Couldn't agree more.
3.
Megan tweeted, a possible quickfire 5 question for you. I'm a huge fan of Captain Black from Captain Scarlet, and I'm wondering, what do you both think? Original series Captain Black or new Captain Scarlet Captain Black? Original for me,
Scarlet.
Jamie.
Oh, we disagreed. I knew Scarlet because I think he was more sinister in a kind of modern bad guy way.
Yeah.
2.
Troy Klein, having listened to the first 15 minutes of Space 1999 in the last podcast, said, hooked. Want to hear the rest of it.
1.
And finally, Dr. Tox said, got started on the Gerry Anderson podcast today. Episode 6 has a superb interview with Gary Newman on his love of Gerry's shows and their influence on his music and looks. A real pleasure to listen to.
Nice.
Yes.
Excellent. Now, can I just expand on Troy Klein's tweet?
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah. So I met Troy when I went to NASA Goddard in Washington.
Yeah.
Where they've got some fascinating stuff. Very, very cool. Troy is the director of NASA's STEM Innovation Lab.
Nice.
Which sounds pretty cool, doesn't it?
Great.
And he messaged to let me know that he was listening to the preview and he really liked it.
Great.
He said, I have to admit, it was pretty cool to drive to the Space Flight Center while listening to Space 1999. There's something really lovely knowing that, that new Space 1999 is being listened to.
Yes.
At NASA.
Yes. That's great. That's
it's
brilliant.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Wonderful.
So thank you, Troy.
Just don't tell Nicholas Briggs because that'll go straight to his head.
I've already told him. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, there we go. So from someone whose ego has recently been inflated,
yes,
to somebody who is not egotistical at all.
Never could it be said.
It's the randomizer emperor himself, Chris Dale, with this week's randomizer.
Wake up, senor.
What? Oh, what's that, Bruno? Oh, is it time for the randomizer already?
It will be a great disaster.
Oh, come on, Bruno, it's not that bad. After all, after 60-odd weeks of doing this, I think I've got the hang of it by now. Where'd I leave the randomizer anyway?
Oh, this case of his is heavier than all her ladyship's suitcases put together.
Oh, hello, Parker. Well, since you've evidently lugged the randomizer all the way upstairs to my bedroom, how would you like to press the button today?
Now, how could I do that?
Well, there's the big red button right there.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, that's it. Parker, are you feeling all right?
I think I've bruised my shins.
Oh, well, I'm sorry about that. So, what show are we watching today?
The indestructible Captain Scarlet.
Ah, well, that's not one of my favourite episodes of that show, actually, but...
It will be a great disaster.
Well, no, it's not that bad. I mean, it's still Captain Scarlet. It's just a little bit, well, here's Dangerous Rendezvous. So it's time for some more Captain Scarlet and a lovely, again, I keep bringing this up every time I watch Scarlet now, just this HD walk down the alleyway. Oh, it's so lovely. Anyway, this is, I think this year, if last year was a Joe 90 year on the randomizer, then this year has certainly been, well, I would say probably we've had Fireball XL5 most, then Lavender Castle, and I'd say Scarlet is likely to be third place. Had quite a bit of Scarlet on the old randomizer this year, but that's fine. Who doesn't like a bit of Scarlet?
In the fight, one man fate has made indestructible. His name, Captain Scarlet.
And of course, this episode, Dangerous Rendezvous, is the third and final part of the what's sort of unofficially known as the Lunaville trilogy, which was a very loose three-part story.
To escort them back to Cloudbase.
Yes, Captain.
And I know with previous two-part stories, if I land on either part, I watch one week and the other half the next week. With this, and with things like Operation Time and Spectrum Strikes Back and the first two episodes, I do see them as standalone episodes more than multi-part stories.
This is a maximum security operation.
Which is why we've assigned only you and two other guys to deal with it. Yeah, so I don't see this as being like a genuine, like, it's not a continuing story. There's no like cliffhanger endings, there's no recaps. So although they are linked, I don't necessarily view these as a multi-part story, just kind of 3 episodes with a running theme straight through them, which is fine. And of course, the previous 2 installments of this story were both largely set on the moon, and here we are back on Earth for the finale. And it's...
Captain Scarlet, Dr. Kernitz is expecting you.
I don't honestly know what to think of the Lunaville trilogy, because it's so kind of... The fact that it isn't a connected, continuing story makes Spectrum's approach to the whole Mysterons are taking over the moon thing rather casual about it. You know, at the end of Lunaville 7, we'll deal with this, but we're not going to deal with it this week. We'll deal with it somewhere further down the line. Don't rush us. So, yeah, in that vein, I do find this is a rather casual wrap-up to the trilogy. Here we have Scarlet's arrived at a research centre to meet Dr. Kernitz.
Ready, Doctor? Ready. You have everything?
Yes. In his briefcase. And Captain Ochre is on the scene. Good old Captain Ochre is pulling into the research complex in the Yellow Fox tanker. Yes, now this Yellow Fox petrol tanker, I think it's a really good idea. I don't understand why it only appeared in
a gasoline tanker?
In 2 episodes.
I think you'll find it comfortable.
Because it's a really clever idea for a security organisation to have this civilian vehicle that is actually this extremely well-armoured transport device for VIPs.
Dr. Kernitz and I have rendezvoused with the Yellow Fox. ETA at the airport, minus 20 minutes.
SIG.
Maybe someone just...
the Spectrum helicopter will overfly the route to the airport.
Found the old model lying around and thought, oh yeah, this was a thing for 1 episode. We should maybe do this again.
Very ingenious. We can drive in comfort and complete secrecy. That's right, Doctor. Spectrum have found the tanker very useful.
Well, in theory, you can drive in comfort and complete secrecy. Unfortunately, as we've just heard there, considering, this is an unmarked civilian vehicle designed to throw people off the scent, in no way meant to clue people in that this is a Spectrum vehicle, they have assigned a Spectrum helicopter covered in Spectrum logos to fly, 10 feet over it on its way to the airport?
The results of your test. I know the danger you went through, Captain Scarlet.
I'm going to say you've blown your cover there, guys.
I can tell you now, it
maybe just a bit.
Because of your efforts, I believe we will be able to communicate with the Mysterons. Let's hope they will listen to reason.
Let's hope they're in.
Our next act of retaliation will be to destroy Cloudbase. Do you hear?
Is this thing on? Hello? Earthmen?
Will be destroyed at midnight.
Well, Colonel, the Mysterons plan to destroy Cloudbase.
What? Yes, Captain. I didn't know this, Captain Blue. You'd think they'd have made some sort of threat that we all... What are you doing, you stupid man? Of course I heard. I do love that. I do love that. Sort of, as you know... And the character doesn't say, yeah, I know. Why are you telling me this? I know. I was here. I was there.
Pulsating. Just as it did in the Mysteron complex on the moon.
Yes, Captain Blue. With the aid of the photographs you and Captain Scarlet took, it was relatively easy to simulate the exact conditions inside that complex.
Oh, God. No, I don't buy it. That was the thing with the hood as well, wasn't it? You could take a picture of a control panel and you would sell those pictures to someone and it was going to be relatively easy to extrapolate the entire workings of a machine or a device from photos.
Is it, Lieutenant?
Specifically, in this case, photos of alien technology. It was relatively easy, just from some Polaroid snaps.
Report, Captain Blue. Have the Mistron detectors revealed anything?
No, Colonel. The whole base has been checked out. And except for the diamond pulsator, of course, there's nothing.
The Mistron said they would destroy Cloud Base at midnight.
And we have a Mistron power source.
There's little else we can do.
I still don't see how they're going to do this.
You talk to them.
Yes. A transmission. The future of the world could well depend on that.
Probably shouldn't give it to you then.
15 seconds to transmission.
Yeah, Spectrum is a bit sort of dim with this. How are they going to destroy Cloud Base? And we have literally an alien power source of massive power glowing on the table.
5, 4.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one, lads.
1. Transmission.
This is Colonel White, Commander-in-Chief of Spectrum, speaking on behalf of the peoples of the Earth to the Mistrons on Mars. I would like to recall man's first survey expedition on the surface of your planet.
And here we have the beginnings of what I think is the main problem with this episode, for me anyway, and why it doesn't feel like much of a conclusion. This flashback here to the events of the first episode, which I'm sure fans at the time would have really appreciated seeing again, because we're 20-something episodes into the series now, and not everybody would have seen that first episode, so it's nice to give people who thought they would never see this again a chance to go back to the beginning and see how it all started. However, it does feel more like padding. It really feels like we don't have much of an idea. Or at least we have an idea, but it's only really enough to cover about 10 minutes of the episode, so we've got to pad the time out with
They're obviously hostile.
With this. And of course, there's an even more blatant example of padding later on, but we'll get to that when we get there.
The attack on your complex was wrong. But we on Earth want you to know it was done out of fear and was not a deliberate act of aggression against you.
We're not nasty, we're just wushes.
And hope you will answer. On behalf of the world government and all peoples of the Earth, I offer you the hand of friendship. I hope that it will be accepted.
Oh. Well, he made a jolly good fist of that, I think. Good old Colonel. He likes his speeches, and giving him a chance to speak on behalf of all mankind, he probably prepared that one.
Gentlemen, we are forgetting we have a guest. Is there anything I can get you, Doctor?
A cup of tea, sandwich, what would you like? Yeah, this is, again, a massive sequence of padding here.
It's a top secret, but I'd be glad to explain the principles. Let's say I wanted to call Captain Blue. Would you mind, Captain?
Because it's one thing to include a clip from an old episode. Again, people maybe thought they would never see any of this stuff again. Maybe people didn't see it before. That's fine.
Immediately that Colonel White is calling.
Here we have an extended explanation of the Spectrum Communications, the Cap mic thing.
Exactly the same procedure in reverse.
And it goes on so long, and by this time, again, we're episode 20-something in now, we know all this. We've seen all this week after week.
Desk flashes, telling him he is in contact with Captain Scarlet.
And Captain Scarlet is the guy on your left. He wears a scarlet tunic because that is the colour scarlet.
In orbit around the world
oh, why are we doing this? Again, it's a symbol that we've run out of time, run out of material to fit this.
I knew the system was the envy of the world.
This very small idea, and also annoyingly.
Is there anything else you'd like to see?
Oh God! Would you like a cookie?
Would it be possible to see an angel launch?
This scientist guy is just like, can I have a treat? Can I have a prezi? Can I have a ride on this wing? Oh, yeah, but the Cap mic thing.
S-I-G?
Oh, stop it! We know.
It means everything is fine.
SIR, spectrum is red, means the opposite.
Yeah, the cat mic thing. It doesn't explain how or why the cat mics swing into position if one of the captains want to call someone else. Which is something I would genuinely be interested in finding out, but they don't explain it here.
5 pilots, codenamed the Angels.
We know! I mean, in the CGI one, occasionally Scarlet would...
Immediate launch.
If he was in a dark room, he would say night vision, and his cap would drop down a night vision screen for him to see by. But we don't know why the cat microphones kick in this. I understand why when a captain is being called, but I don't understand how a captain triggers the mic to make a call. Is the hat telepathic? Is it like what is it? Cappy from Super Mario Odyssey. Is it somehow alive? Is it reading his thoughts? And he thinks, I want to make a call. And that's what triggers it.
But also very practical. It means we
I've been waffling for a very long time, but not as much as these characters have, telling us the basics of a show that we've all been watching for 20-something weeks already.
Monitors have picked up a carrier wave, sir. I believe the Mysterons are about to answer your transmission.
Oh, no, not the plot. The plot's come back. But Dr. Thingy wanted to have a ride on a seesaw and an ice cream. Poor old Dr. Thingy.
Your message has been analyzed, and it has been decided to allow one member of Spectrum to meet our representative.
The pink guy. Seriously, he's the funniest. Bring us the pink guy.
He will fly on a course of 124 magnetic from Cloud Base's present position. Further,
and again, that's a subtle indication that the Mysterons know where Cloud Base is at this exact moment. Okay, they could
check that course, Lieutenant.
They could have worked that out from the position of the transmission, but also maybe they picked it up from the transmission of their own power source.
Laws of death.
You're probably right, but I think we must accept. We cannot miss this chance.
Spectrum is so dim this week.
For you, sir. The only landfall is a large, desolate volcanic area in Greenland.
Greenland, eh? An ideal spot for a secret rendezvous.
Or for a mad president to try to buy.
Why should we trust the Mysterons?
It's 50 years later and he's still on that kick.
Sir, if a member of Spectrum is to be sent, I'm the obvious choice.
Oh, that's your answer to everything.
Thank you, Captain Scarlet.
I'll leave immediately.
So, Greenland. Land of rocks and a couple of bushes.
Captain Scarlet has just passed the Renvik radar station.
The last point of contact.
Do people just not live in Greenland in the Captain Scarlet universe? I mean, I don't know much about it, but the way Colonel White reacts to it is like, an ideal spot for a secret rendezvous. Nobody around. In the whole country. I think there are probably people living in Greenland. If you're living in Greenland and listening to this right now, is it as desolate and volcanic as it seems in this episode?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
No, Peter Dineley did it better. And again, another Spectrum passenger jet getting trashed. Oh dear. And as much as I'm not a particular fan of this episode, as you may have deduced from my comments thus far, I do like this sequence of Scarlet meeting the driverless car. And he gets in and it drives away and it's driving itself. I think the fact that, there is no one at the wheel, but it's driving itself, and also the slightly sort of desolate landscape, it does make it seem like we're deep in Mysteron country here. No one around.
Come in, Captain Scarlet. You are expected.
We've got the good china out and the muffins will be ready soon. And again, Mysteron technology there, that screen on the wall is pulsating in a similar way that the ones in the complex in Crater 101 did.
I have come here unarmed. Your instructions have been followed precisely.
You must listen and take back this message to the world.
Down from the mountain every day, from the sky and from over the sea.
Blast you!
From the farm, condensed in a tin, enriched with vitamin D.
This is the voice of the Mr.
Okay, I couldn't resist that. It's just such a perfect setup for that tape to be playing anything.
You started this war of nerves.
Anyway, Captain Black has set the tape playing, this looped Mr. On threat, and he's scarpered. He's not sticking around for this.
Against the earth.
He's got better things to do than work a tape desk in a pokey little shed in the middle of nowhere.
That's a recording.
Yep, it's a new CD, the Mr. On's greatest hits, including all the greats, such as We Know You Can Hear Us Earthmen, and other things.
Pulsator.
Here we go. We have another diamond pulsator on the table in the control room.
It's going to explode.
Yep. And Scarlet's legging it out of there after he's explained to us, the viewers, what's going on.
A trap. But why? Why?
I do like how absolutely filthy Scarlet looks when he falls down as well. He's got so much soot and ash on him that he almost looks like one side of his face has gone silver. It's a very nice touch.
I must warn them.
Anyway, he's now figured out that the Mr. On pulsator on Cloudbase is a potential bomb, which is now glowing quite sinisterly. So far, no one has noticed. Because they're still slowly piecing it together on Cloudbase.
What time is it, Lieutenant?
5 minutes to midnight, sir.
5 minutes to our certain doom. Aside from the Mr. On thingy we have here, Lieutenant, what do you possibly think could be the cause of our ultimate destruction? Aside from the glowing Mr. On thingy that Captain Oka is now standing right next to and blatantly ignoring. My God, what is wrong with you people? Anyway, good old Scarlet's now made it back to the radar station in the Mr. On car. Again, very convenient that the car didn't
It's got to work.
Fight against him there. You'd expect the Mr. Ons would still have some control over it.
Colonel, I've picked up some sort of signal. It's Morse.
Morse? Let me hear it. S-C-A-R-L. It's from Scarlet.
Oh, that's who it is. Right.
He says the pulsator's a Mr. On booby trap.
30 seconds to midnight, sir.
Captain Oka, this is an emergency. Do exactly as I say.
Uh-oh.
Diamond pulsator, the nearest porthole.
Oka's been around. He knows words like that never end well.
Explosive decompression in the room. Put on a respirator.
15 seconds left, sir.
Hurry, Captain Oka.
Captain Oka to the rescue. This is a nice change of pace, that it's Oka who gets to save all of Cloudbase. Not Blue, not Destiny, obviously not Scarlet because he's not there. Yep. That's Captain Oka, saved the day there. No big deal. Loses a couple of points for standing next to the obviously glowing bomb.
Firstly, I must thank you, Captain Scarlet, and you, Captain Oka.
But yeah, he gets thanks from the Colonel. That's good stuff. He even gets a little stool to sit on.
Well, gentlemen,
and Captain Blue doesn't because he hasn't done anything this week.
Our attempt to end the war of nerves with the Mr. Ons has failed. Obviously, we were unable to convince them of our sincerity.
Oh, maybe they didn't enjoy your speech.
Let us learn from this operation and steel ourselves for the long road which lies in front of us.
And that's it. That is the conclusion of the epic Captain Scarlet Lunaville trilogy. So, it's a tough one, this, because I don't feel that as a conclusion to the trilogy, it particularly works. And I don't feel that as a standalone episode, it works all that well either, because there is so much padding in this one. And, we're going to destroy Cloudbase. Okay, this should be big and epic, but instead it's like, well, maybe if we sit around and ignore the very obvious glowing crystal thingy. And And I liked this one as a kid, possibly because it was one of the few that I actually had on video. But it's just, coming at the end of the Lunarville trilogy, which, again, aren't my favourite episodes. I'll get into more of that when we actually get to them. But, it's just, this trilogy is sort of like the show's big attempt at a multi-part story, kind of. And it just peters out to basically a simple little trick by the Mysterons that we could have done in one episode of the Crystal thing. So that's Dangerous Rendezvous. Not a favourite. One of the few episodes of Captain Scarlet I'm not mad about.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Yes, well done, Chris.
No wonder he's so popular.
Oh, yeah, I love a bit of Randomiser. What I love as well is people go back and listen to the old ones again and again and again. That's fantastic, isn't it? Because he's building up quite a library of episodes now, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a fantastic sort of index card system of reviews. Yeah. So if you want a companion to watch it with, then go to the Randomiser of said episode.
Yeah.
Chris is also responsible for a rather fantastic segment in Fab Live, isn't he, Richard?
Oh, is that Big Rat Bites, Jamie? If you remember to include it.
Yes, now last month in Fab Live, I'm afraid I did forget. I downloaded it and left it on the wrong hard drive and then got to yours, Richard, and then realised I was short hard drives and it was all disaster. So, sorry, Chris, but I will have it this month. So you can look forward to Chris Dale in video form.
Yes.
Looking at a very particular character from a very particular series, Richard, which I think you'll enjoy. But I won't say any more.
Ooh, okay.
I don't want to spoil it.
Oh. Right.
But you're definitely going to enjoy tonight's Big Rat Bites on Fab Live, as long as you make it live.
Yeah.
But even if you don't make it live, you can still catch up with the shenanigans that were had.
Yes.
By going onto the YouTube channel or just searching on YouTube for Fab Live. Is it going to be number 26?
Oh, I can't keep count. It's about that, isn't it?
Yeah, just search Fab Live, and the most recent one will probably be at the top of the search results on YouTube, and then you can watch it back at your leisure. But obviously, we can't hear you in the comments. I occasionally see people who are commenting on ones from a year ago, hoping for a real-time reply.
Right. Yes, we don't get notifications.
No, sadly not. But there you go. You can go and watch it. But we'd love it if you join us live. We'd love it if you would send us your stuff for it, photos of yourself, your family enjoying various Gerry Anderson things, your collections, a strange moment where you met a Gerry Anderson actor out of context, anything like that would be awesome. Send them to fablive@gerryanderson.co.uk, but please try to do so before 4 p.m. British summertime on Monday the 16th of September 2019.
That late, eh? Wow, great. There you go.
I mean, even that's going to be a bit fine, but we'll try to include them if you get them in by then.
That's right. Yeah, great. In the meantime, of course, don't forget to subscribe to us and leave us a review and rate us and share us with your friends. Email us at podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk and hashtag us on Twitter, #Gerry Anderson Podcast, and we'll see your tweets there.
Yeah. And that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
I think that's the end of the podcast.
That's actually the end of the podcast.
That's the end of this episode of the podcast. Yeah. Until next week. Until 67.
Yeah, of course.
So if there's anything you'd like us to cover in 67, then email us, like Richard said, or tweet us, or Facebook us, or whatever. And thanks for being along for the ride.
Yeah.
We've loved having you here.
Yeah, it's been gorgeous.
And you were a very well-behaved guest, weren't you?
They weren't bad, were they?
Yeah, not too bad. Wish they'd wipe their feet on the way.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, shall we let them go away and get on with their day?
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
So, Richard,
Yeah.
Can I ask you about your holiday?
Oh, yeah.
You've been to Pisa, right?
Yes.
The home of the Leaning Tower.
That's right.
Did you do the thing there
What?
that everybody does?
What, the picture holding up the...
Yeah.
Yeah, I did, Jamie, yeah.
Oh, Richard.
I know, but you've got to. You've just got to. You get there. You think, I was quite adamant I wasn't going to. I was going to be, no, I'm going to be cool and collected and I'm just going to admire the beautiful architecture and the peace of the place and I'm going to become at one with the Leaning Tower. And then I just thought, nah, I'm going to have a picture of me trying to hold it up.
Oh, Rich.
Of course you do.
Disappointed. You're supposed to go around and high-five all the people doing that.
Oh,
that's the way to do it. Anyway, right, as punishment for being one of those people,
right,
you are now going to upload the picture of you holding up the Leaning Tower of Pisa to the Gerry Anderson Podcast listeners Facebook group.
Right.
And they are then going to cut you out and superimpose you into other things from the Gerry Anderson universe, or we're going to replace the Leaning Tower with something else to have you holding that up. How's that?
Okay. Podsterons, do your worst.
Good luck.
Thanks.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?